Hey everybody, here's another episode of Grow the Game, and we've been off for a little bit, been a little busy with fundraising and trying out ourselves. On that point, I've had a lot of people reach out lately asking about tryouts. What do you do? What are you looking for? How many kids do you take? So thought it'd be a good time with the end of the year starting to wind down, summer starting to come up, that I talk about tryouts and kind of how all those entail, um, and what all that entails, anyway. So let me start with how many kids. I think this depends on several factors. One of which, are you trying to grow the program? Is it already an established program? Are you trying to create a ninth grade? I know when I was in Clinton a couple years back, we didn't have an actual ninth grade team. So it all kind of fluctuates with that. I will say, I think, me personally, I lean towards more rather than less. I know some coaches prefer the thought of, if they're not going to play, don't take them. It takes reps away from those kids that do. So it's kind of more of a quantity or quality over quantity mindset, which is fine. I think that works for established programs more likely. So roughly 10 to 15. I'll give that kind of a big window there. 10 to 15 per team. So if you're doing ninth, JV, and varsity, you're looking at somewhere between 30 and 45, which I know becomes quite a big gap. So let me close a little bit. I think 10's on the low side and 15's on the high. So more like 12, 13, I think is a good average per team. Now, I do think the younger the group, the bigger the team. So for instance, ninth grade, you should shoot for maybe 15, 14-ish, because a lot more of the seventh, eighth, ninth grade kids are trying it out, or they're not quite as committed as varsity level kids. And so you have a lot that try. Maybe they don't progress, maybe they don't like it. There's all sorts of reasons. And so you can have a couple fall off and want to go to a different sport, or quit playing volleyball in general. So I tend to aim a little high when it comes to seventh, eighth, and ninth. Now, I think once you start scooting towards JV varsity, you start getting that down to that 10, 11, 12 range. And don't think that you have to do your tryouts in that you're deciding who's on ninth, who's on JV, and who's on varsity right then and there. There can obviously be kids that maybe play on both. Maybe they're not quite a varsity starter, but there's someone who is maybe a ninth or 10th grader that you see possibly coming off the bench a little. So maybe they start in varsity, but come in sparingly on varsity, so you can have that lower number and still get away with that kind of playing around with kids. So there's that. Definitely, I think seventh and eighth, you definitely take more than less. Those kids are for sure first time trying it. Maybe after a year, they're like, this just isn't for me. Maybe, who knows what goes down with seventh and eighth and ninth. So definitely, when it comes to middle school, take more than less, in my opinion. So that's my thought on numbers. When it comes to what you do in tryouts, I think it's going to be, again, dependent on a couple of things, one of which is at middle school or high school. How competitive is your program? And what are you trying to find out? Because if you are one of those teams that want to decide ninth, JV, varsity, who's on what team from the tryout, you obviously need to approach it a little bit different, a little bit more position-based, rather than just skill-based in general. So there's that. I'll start with middle school and work my way up to high school. So middle school, what I like to do, some, again, can disagree and agree with it. Obviously, do a lot of basic skill work. Things I'm looking for is, can kids be coachable? Are they athletic? Do they have potential down the road? I don't want to just win a seventh grade game. I want a kid that I see being able to become a varsity player down the road. Now, it's a little tough to do when we're talking seventh and eighth, but you can't teach height, for one thing. I mean, I haven't figured out how yet. If you do, send me a message. But those are the kind of things. Are they coachable? Are they going to have the ability to get better? Do they have the physical capabilities, like I said, tall and athletic build? Obviously, if they are skilled at seventh and eighth, that's a good sign. If they've played before. If they have played club, Salvation Army, a league, anything of that nature, not only does it tell me they've had some coaching, but they're also a little bit more invested in the sport. So it's kind of a safer pick for down the road. So there's that on middle school as far as what I'm looking for. Like I said, I do basic drills. Here's how you pass. Here's how you set. Here's how you serve or swing. I don't fiddle with blocking too much. At least at my program, the middle school isn't probably going to get too many blocks. And if they do, that's probably my 8th grade A team, and that's down the road. That's from a year or two of playing and practicing. So I'm more looking for how quickly are you picking up serving and passing, because then that allows us to play the game and we can work from there. Yes, I do teach underhand passing in the middle school, or underhand serving, sorry, for the fact that I want them being able to play the game. If we're just overhand serving, and in theory that makes sense because that's what we're going to do down the road, but we just have so many errors that we're not able to ever get the ball over, see what they're doing, and have all that afterwards. Okay, I want to maximize the ability for those kids to see the other side playing, it coming over, and we need to pass that hit of some sort. So I teach underhand, and we do that obviously in the tryout. We do overhand serves for anybody that has maybe played before or are strong enough, or whatever the case may be, so that we can see where their top side is. Not all the kids are going to be able to get to it, so I usually teach both and then let them serve a little bit. It's passing. I mean, obviously passing midline, but then we want to work in moving a little bit. So maybe we do shuffle passing, where I have just two lines looking at each other. One side is the tossers and one side is the passers, and they just pass and shuffle to the next, and that way they get a ton of touches really quick. And then I flip the two lines, and that way they can pass and shuffle and move a little. Kind of a controlled passing between two people, kind of having that pass back and forth so that you have some uncertainty, and it's not just a tosser saying here, it's right to you. So that's good to be able to see him track things. Like I said, serving, I think you obviously want to have some fun with it. Play a couple games that maybe aren't necessarily 100% tied to volleyball directly. I like to play land, sea, air. It's just a fun little game. I want them to associate, once they leave the tryout, volleyball and fun being in the same sentence. So maybe it helps create less burnout, more stuck in their heads from the get-go that volleyball is fun and it's a game I want to be a part of. And so there's that. I do some just physical fitness type things to see how athletic kids are. It could be just down and backs. Just see how hard kids will run. You'll see some that don't touch the line. The coast. I mean, there's definitely several things that I think you can see from it. Now, I don't know how direct those things are. That's kind of up to you and your philosophy, but I want to see kids work hard. That's kind of part of that, I guess, maybe coachable aspect of it, effort. So that's kind of how my middle school tryouts would look. Like I said, I have, now that I'm in Sand Springs at a 6A school, we're talking, I have a 7th grade A team, 8th grade A, 8th grade B. I have that ability. I have enough kids coming out. We probably had close to 50 or 60 kids try out, which I know isn't probably the majority of schools. But I would take as many yeses and maybes as you can, and that you think would function. The kids just a no. Don't put your coaching staff through that, or them. Now, you never know at 7th and 8th. I will throw that out there, but I think there are some kids that just don't have any skill. They don't pick it up very fast. They're not athletic. They don't have a lot of things we're looking for. So, um, like I said, don't do that to coaches and the players. But let's scoot on to high school. Now, some people have the 9th grade program or team be big enough that it may require 9th grade to be separate of a tryout than the high school. So let's just go with that assumption, and I'll work back to it. So for JV varsity, now we're talking less about the skills. I mean, obviously, you still want to see the effort. You still want to see coachability. You want to see them do the skills. But to me, now you start scooting into a lot more game-like scenarios, a lot more serve, receive. Maybe not hitting off a toss or passing off a toss. Mix in a lot more uncertainty and chaos to the situation. You want to see them play a lot more. So maybe, let's say I have 2 days of tryouts, maybe at 2 hours each. The first hour of the first day, maybe just skill stuff. Just for me, I've taken kids who are going to be a 9th grader who's never played before, and honestly, it's worked out phenomenal. A couple of those kids, one's a starter at Hall and Hall now. One is probably going to start JV for us this year. They were athletic. They were very coachable. They were picked it up quick. So I like to go that first hour of doing those skills, and here's how you do it, and I just kind of go through it real fast, just for any of those kids that may be there. Obviously you can see the older kids who are more experienced, how they react to that, in that, are they like, oh, this is so basic. Ugh. Well, maybe that's a downside for you. Or they're like, okay, it's basic, but I still got to work on it. I got to be fundamentally sound. Maybe that's something you look at for the older girls. So there's kind of 2 things of that. But then that last hour, maybe now I'm scooting into playing games off of those skills. So some sort of serve, receive. Maybe it's a game I call 5, 10, 15, which I've done a video on. There's a handful of them. Maybe butterfly, where we're going against time. So it's a game against the time. Just things that then put competition as an aspect, and we go from there. Now, the second day, I will say the majority is scrimmaging, scrimmage type games, wash drills, things of this nature, where I'm getting to see them interact with one another. Are they good teammates? Do they have good energy? Are they talking amongst the chaos? Like, are they looking at other people to do their job? Right, you see this with 9th grade and middle school a lot. Balls are closed. They'll just look at the other guy or other girl like, take it. I want someone aggressive going for it. So there's that, as far as maybe how a high school tryout goes. And like I said, the older you get, the less number. So maybe 10, 11, 12 for varsity, and kind of work your way with more kids. The lower you go in the JV 9th grade ranks. So there is some tidbits on how my tryout looks. I've talked to a couple of people on at least the numbers and what they do for tryouts, and it's all pretty similar. So if you guys have anything that I didn't mention, please, comment. I would love you guys to share this and maybe get to some of those coaches, especially at like smaller schools, that we can help out. One thing, if you're still watching, I am having in the works putting together a file of basically rules, information to give to an AD for basically schools who do not have volleyball but want volleyball, and how to get there. So, maybe basic things that are needs and how much roughly they cost, so that, if you take it and propose it to the AD, they have an idea what they're getting into. Right? How much does it roughly cost for a coach, balls and nets, all these things, to be able to give them, I don't want to say ammo, but I give them an opportunity and give them resources. So I look forward to making that and getting that sent out. So thank you guys so much again. Every view, every comment, every share means a ton, and hopefully just being able to help these coaches, players, and parents continue to grow this game.